anybody hear me if I just talk like this?
Okay, so my microphone. So yeah, this talk I've called The Value of Student-Led Projects and Miscarriages of Justice, because I want to talk about why student-led projects are so important now, and particularly will be in the years to come, in relation to miscarriages of justice. So it's good to see a lot of the people from the University of Sheffield who come along, and nice to see the ones from Leicester here as well. But first I'd like to thank United Against Injustice for inviting me along. It's a privilege to be able to speak, and I hope to give some insight to the rest of the room about what student projects do and the sort of work we get involved in and why that's going to be so important. I wrote a paper in my final year of university which looked into why the cuts to legal aid are going to lead to more miscarriages of justice. So that's what, and it's going to touch on a lot of stuff that Mark talked about, and Victor, and all the speakers today, as it's such a relevant sort of topic. So my name is James Cairns. I'm a student manager at the Miscarriages of Justice Review Centre at the University of Sheffield. We have 9 cases and around 40 students work on those cases. Some of them are here today. Like we shorten it to the MGRC just for ease, so if I mention MGRC, that's what I'm referring to. And it's formed an important pillar of the life of the law school, looking into the alleged miscarriages of justice of the wrongfully convicted who maintain their innocence. In the last academic year, students at the MGRC have visited London to protest against cuts to legal aid, attended wrongful conviction conferences around the country, and there was a particularly good one in Dublin in Ireland this summer, and made visits to prisons to talk to their clients. We held a presentation evening where we talked about our cases with one another, met cell site experts, in fact Andy, who's just here now, was the very one, and we meet other academics in their field which sort of give us the insight that we need as students to take forward and investigate the cases effectively. In the years to come, we hope to renew our association with the Innocence Project, which is an American organisation which some of you might be familiar with, who look into overturning the convictions of innocent members of the public and help them towards getting back to normal lives, which is, as I know a lot of you are aware, is a very difficult thing to do. Part of this involves forging new links with other miscarriages of justice projects. So we're looking to talk to those at home and abroad, and as I'll touch upon in a little while, the fact that miscarriages of justice happen all over the world can tell us a lot, and so we can learn a lot from that too. So yeah, students can gain a great deal of experience from projects like ours, and we provide a point of last resort for a lot of people who have exhausted the appeals process and want their convictions overturned. One need look no further than the work of the Cardiff Innocence Project, who overturned the conviction of Dwayne George in the last year, and the vast network of projects around the world that see the value in student-run projects like ours. Something about these projects, though, draws students towards them. We get around 10 applicants for every one place available on the project. With cuts to legal aid being such an important issue at the moment, it's no surprise that students are paying more attention to the issues within the system and want to do something about it. Students who feel the urge to become involved see the importance of the work that we contribute to, and in this we can examine why student-led projects in this area are so vital. I do believe that the cuts to legal aid are one of the most significant threats to access to justice that faces modern Britain. Many people are fortunate enough not to require financial assistance when coming into contact with the criminal justice system. However, many others are not so lucky. This September I was fortunate enough to spend 8 days shadowing barristers, getting to know what sort of work they do day to day in the Crown Courts of Manchester and Sheffield. During that time I observed acquittals due to persistent professional representation from Defence Counsel, fair sentences granted through carefully thought out mitigation pleas, and even watched the prosecution drop a case because the Defence Counsel diligently discovered that the alleged victims of the crime had in fact set up the defendant as a burglar in order to bring a fraudulent insurance claim. It was personally fascinating for me, having been involved in projects at Sheffield for 2 years, to see this individual who was once the most convicted juvenile in the country tried to be fit up for a crime that he didn't do. The ordinary jury would look at his record and say he did it, but because of an excellent barrister being diligent on his case, he solved and prevented a miscarriage of justice that very day. Without legal aid, these individuals who provide defendants with representation would not be there for the parts of society most vulnerable to miscarriages of justice. My experience across the 8 days was bittersweet. Often counsel would tell me this is the best job in the world, but followed by the proviso there's no livelihood in it, or one day you might break even. What well-educated graduate can afford to enter this profession, and what well-educated graduate can afford to stay in it? It's up for debate amongst you how much or how little the state ought to provide in legal aid, but the real issue is what legislation and policy says about the way we think about access to justice. That is, where do we list it in order of priority amongst other key political issues? I'm sure everybody here can agree that the government at the moment is rating it pretty low. A couple of months ago I watched Panorama's DIY Justice documentary. One quote from Ken Clarke, former Lord Chancellor, stuck out and has remained with me. He said, "When you stop needing money for hospitals or schools, then perhaps you could start putting money back into legal aid." Something about this has struck a chord with me. It was as though he didn't think legal aid was that important in the grand scheme of things. Of course, it's right to value a health service and provide good education for children, but it's not right to do it at the expense of access to justice. This attitude has been archetypal of the Conservative-led government, but previous Labour government also harboured similar ambitions of cutting the Criminal Legal Aid Bill, and the Carter Review, commissioned by the Labour government, established a new structure for providing legal aid, which would eventually be implemented under the coalition. Following this, the Legal Aid Sentencing and Punishment of Offenders Act 2012 gave the Lord Chancellor powers to determine legal aid providers. Where there were once 1,600 firms competing for legal aid work, only 525, as we learnt recently, have won the contracts for those work. 12,000-ish firms have stopped providing legal aid due to provider work contracts overnight. In addition, solicitors are no longer paid for legal aid work by the hour, but by a standard fixed rate, regardless of whether the case took 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, 1 year. The problem here is that criminal legal aid has become like a production line, where one size is expected to fit all. Those firms fortunate enough to have survived and provide legal aid work know that they need to maximise profits, and the best way to do that is to work shorter cases. These only financial viable cases are guilty pleas, and a variety of research has suggested that we can expect lawyers to put pressure on their clients to take plea bargains or plead guilty, even where the client may not be guilty. Other studies show that where solicitors are paid fixed rates, they spend less time with their clients in custody, and firms send less qualified solicitors along to deal with those clients. Cutting costs is putting good legal representation at risk, and the consequence of which is that we can expect more miscarriages of justice. In addition to this, innocent defendants face a catch-22 situation. They must either plead guilty and be wrongfully convicted at the magistrate's court, but receive sentence discount, or maintain their innocence and go to the Crown Court under ill-prepared counsel and receive the risk of a higher conviction sentence. The miscarriages of justice arising from such scenarios could be immeasurable. Further, it is generally accepted that guilty pleas do not bring a substantial waiver to allow defendants to minimise their losses. In these circumstances, it has been suggested that we ought to reduce the benefit that defendants might get from submitting a guilty plea to encourage innocent defendants not to plead guilty. This information coming from bits of research we've done. It is presumed that if clients maintain their innocence, the prosecution is less likely to bring the case for fear of losing due to weak evidence. This is a dystopia on the brink of becoming reality. The threat is even starker, considering that most miscarriages of justice in England and Wales come in cases where a confession was the only evidence. If lawyers are not diligent and do not maintain the confidence of their client, they are not fulfilling their obligations. We are bordering on Orwellian fiction. Individuals are plucked off the street for crimes that they did not commit, and when faced with the battle to secure a fair trial, the burden of proof is moved onto them to prove their innocence to their lawyers which represent them. As they say, money talks. How many innocent men and women are sat in prison wondering how such misfortune could befall them in a genuinely civilised society? To return to my Orwellian reference, many may feel like Winston Smith being forced into believing 2 + 2 = 5. The wrongfully convicted are being told that to accept the obviously false dogma, which one may be required to believe if they were to receive mitigating circumstances, early release, or preferential treatment, which Victor mentioned earlier. A breakdown of trust between individuals and the criminal justice system is in full swing, and the potential for wrongful convictions and miscarriages of justice is massive. While legal aid providers are financially stretched, student-led projects are becoming ever more important. Students are in a privileged position where they have time to look over cases where Defence Counsel did not. They also remain rather more optimistic about the positive impact on their cases. This optimism is always rigorously tested by long hours working on cases, but frequently rewarded. Students have fresh ideas, and because of these ideas, we regularly take our cases to making applications to the CCRC. At the MGRC, we receive 3 letters a day from prison asking for our help. Sadly, it's impossible to look into every case, and while we can expect more letters to arrive, we try to make a difference where we can. However, when times like these arise, we do work raising awareness, campaigning, and engaging in conversation. It can make a positive impact on the policy agenda. This semester we are beginning to look into ways of reforming joint enterprise and consequently hoping to lower the number of miscarriages of justice as a result of what is, frankly, a stupid law. The desire for joint enterprise reform is hardly anything new, but if every student project in the country made the issue heard, then reform would eventually come, and I believe it will. The UK was once considered at the forefront of access to justice, with legal aid benefits coming into law before similar provisions were required by Article 3(c) of the European Convention on Human Rights and the International Covenant on Civil and Procedural Rights. Sympathisers with the cuts to legal aid argue that Britain spends more on legal aid than neighbouring states, but I can't help but feel they're missing the point. When it comes to justice, it's not a question of who is the best of a bad lot. It is a question of how we can make sure that the minimum standards of seeking justice are done, and we're a long way off that. Whilst attending the International Wrongful Conviction Conference this summer in Ireland, I heard the fight against miscarriages of justice described as a civil rights movement. For me, a civil rights movement evokes images of non-violent protests led by Martin Luther King Jr. to gain equal rights for African American citizens, or the anti-apartheid movement in South Africa. I think that I found such poignancy with this description is because I struggle to equate the great historical movements with campaigns against miscarriages of justice. I think that what made it so difficult to equate these great historical movements with campaigns against miscarriages of justice is that our memories of the former call up images of marches and lives lost in the street for change. Campaigns against miscarriages of justice are fought inside prisons, complex court structures, and in family homes up and down the country. Acknowledging the difference of visibility goes somewhere to equating miscarriages of justice movements with other civil rights movements. However, it goes further and illuminates the significance of our fight against injustice and for access to justice for all. There are student projects like the Miscarriages of Justice Centre all across Europe, in Ireland, in America, and in parts of Asia from Singapore to the Philippines. Campaigns against miscarriages of justice are part of a worldwide civil rights movement, and as history concurs, students can play a significant part in bringing about that change. In this case, student projects must put pressure on their respective local and national governments to scrutinise the processes of serving justice and acting in the public interest. A conversation must be had, and is certainly underway, about why individuals fall through the gaps of the justice system. I know sometimes, there's been a lot of boos for certain professions today, and rightly so, there's corrupt individuals in every profession. but the next generation of lawyers, police officers, court officials and academics must be part of this conversation about bringing about change. And student-led projects are the one place where these sort of individuals have to come from. Both home and abroad, citizens of civilised societies are at risk of being subject to miscarriages of justice. In the UK, we know that they are at risk of wrongful imprisonment, unjust sentences, and the mentally ill continue to be kept in overcrowded prisons, while the state wonders why figures for death in custody remain so high. The importance of student-led projects is apparent. Students in these projects are working diligently alongside their studies to try and repair a wrongfully convicted individual's life. In addition, by attending campaigns, rallies and conferences like this one today, we're raising awareness of the problems that we wish to see ended and trying to make a valuable contribution. The cuts to legal aid are making the problem worse, and the student voice must be as loud now as it ever has been. Thank you.
Thank you, James.